Let's go to Asia editor for the new Humanitarian, Ali Latifi, who is in Kabul. Ali, tell us more about the areas that have been most affected and how populated they were.
So you're talking about areas deep in the mountains, where the roads are very difficult to get to, even, on the best days. I've been to some of these districts, and even getting to somebody's house requires traveling along these unpaved dirt and rock roads that, uh, unless you have an SUV, it's quite difficult just to get up there. And so that's during the day. Now you're talking about an earthquake that took place around midnight, in the dark, in areas that don't have proper electricity. You have homes that were reduced to rubble because they were mud homes not made to withstand the impact of an earthquake. And then you have people trying to rush their loved ones to essentially the nearest clinic because the nearest hospital is several hours away along these rough, rugged terrain in the middle of the night, which, as we all know, that means bumpy roads. That means difficulty keeping people comfortable and possibly alive when they're gravely injured. So there's a lot of difficulty for people in these areas.
Tell us a bit more about the stories that you've been hearing and how they felt when they were woken in the middle of the night when this quake hit.
I mean, even in Kabul, we were woken in the middle of the night, and in Kabul right now there are blackouts across the city, and there are people who live in apartment buildings who are wondering how to get to safety, how to get downstairs in the darkness. Now, imagine you're talking about a village where there's not really outside light for you. You're having to dig through with your hands. There have been videos of children crying, trying to explain what happened. How desperately they try to dig out their family and their parents, and just different people in their households. It's quite terrifying.
And there have been reports that landslides have cut off areas near the epicenters. So how are these people who are in need being reached?
The best way right now is through helicopters. So the Ministry of Defense, the Ministry of Interior are sending helicopters. They're sending helicopters in with aid workers, with doctors, with medicine and supplies. And then on the way back, they're bringing the injured to the regional hospital in Jalalabad. Of course, that has its own challenges because you can only bring so many people, especially if you're talking about the injured in a helicopter, and you have to have the supplies and whatever other sort of health assistance they may need until they get to the hospital. But we've been seeing reports that there have been pilots essentially running flights all day, not taking any breaks, making sure, trying to do as much as they can to get assistance in and to get people to the hospitals.
It seems like a non-stop recovery effort. Some of the hospitals we're hearing are receiving one patient every 5 minutes. How are they coping?
And this is the problem, Afghanistan is dealing with aid cuts. In 2023, the ICRC cut aid to something like 20 hospitals, including this one in Jalalabad, that most of them are being transferred to. So again, it's an instance of people dealing with a massive natural disaster with limited resources. Even in hospitals, doctors are being overworked, they're being overstretched, they have fewer resources at their disposal in terms of medicine, in terms of equipment, but they're having to make do. And so again, this sort of raises the issue of what happens when aid gets cut due to politics.
How much aid from the international community do you think Afghanistan will receive following this quake?
United Nations has made a statement. Narendra Modi of India has made a statement. Shahbaz Sharif of Pakistan has made a statement. Now it's a question of when they will actually put those words into action, and also how much they can do given the physical limitations of the current conditions on the road. I've been speaking to a friend of mine who works for an international NGO, and even though they have staff in one of the most affected provinces in Kannada, they're wondering how to actually get to the area. Short of being on these helicopters, it's very difficult.
And of course, as you've mentioned, Afghanistan already dealing with humanitarian crises. How much of the community already relies on aid to survive? And how has this been impacted by Afghans returning from Iran and Pakistan from where they have been expelled?
So, according to the United Nations, it's something like 22.5 million people are in need of assistance this current year. So that's a huge amount. And then, as you said, hundreds of thousands are being sent back from Iran and Pakistan over the last year. Something like 1 million have been sent back from both countries. And actually, today was another deadline from Pakistan to send back tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands, even people with documentation with registration cards. And those people would most likely be coming through Ningarhar, through one of the most affected provinces due to the earthquake, which means that there are fewer resources for them, and which means that potentially, those who live in Kanat and possibly who come from Kanat and these districts within Ningarhar could essentially go back to rubble.
Tell us, as a journalist, how hard is it to get access to the latest information, especially when these areas that have been hit appear to be so remote?
It is very difficult because right now everyone is trying to get to the area to even see what it looks like. We have footage coming in, we have pictures coming in, but again, I've been to these districts, cell phone reception on a normal day is very difficult, and now you're talking about during a disaster. So for all the media and aid and see with our own eyes what's going on and see what can be done as well. Compared to, say, the earthquake in 2023, if I remember correctly, in Herat, that was much easier to get to because that's a very flat province.
Yeah, and a lot of these houses were vulnerable due to their construction, with reports of entire villages being destroyed. And just over the weekend, these areas were hit by floods as well.
Right, because you're talking about simple mud houses. These the most limited amount of resources. They will not stand up to, as you said, floods. They definitely won't stand up to earthquakes. And this was the issue in the last two major earthquakes as well, that people really need proper solid homes. That's why in Kabul, in Jalalabad, with the earthquake in Herat, in the city of Herat, it wasn't as big of a deal because the homes, the buildings are made to withstand these kinds of things. But if you're talking about the poorest people in the most remote areas, they're just building mud houses.
And what has the Taliban government said so far about the help it's providing to those affected?
So the Islamic Emirate has actually been very good in these disasters. They are the ones flying out the helicopters. The Ministry of Interior has deployed people. The Ministry of Defense has employed people. The Natural Disasters Management Directorate has employed people. They've sent doctors. They've started to send food and medicine. They're trying to do as much as they can with whatever is at their disposal. But of course, they have less money now than at any time previously. They have more people coming into the country due to the expulsions from Iran and Pakistan, and they have these natural disasters that are occurring. So it's really testing their ability to juggle multiple crises at once. But to be fair, whenever these crises do emerge, they really try and establish a team, establish a system as quickly as possible to get as much assistance that is available to them out to the people.
Ali Latifi, it's really good to get your thoughts. Thank you so much for sharing your evening with us. Thank you.
Thank you.